Hi, my name is Gator Carter. This is my wife Deanne, and we've been serving God in Mexico for the last 32 years. Most of our time was spent in Reynosa, Mexico, where the Big Heart Orphanage is, that we founded. And now we have moved in the last 2 years to a place called Ramos Arizpe that's real close to Saltillo / Monterrey, Mexico. And that's where the story starts. Me and my wife met in a Bible school in Houston, Texas, and she graduated, but I didn't graduate, but I did get a good prize, and that was her. We've been married now for close to 36 years, and we're happily to be together, and we're thankful that God has called us to do what we're doing.
We came to Mexico in 1989. We had lived in the Houston area after we got married for about 5 years, and really was just seeking God for what He wanted us to do. We were involved in a church in a little town right next to Houston called Tomball, and we stayed there for a while, but we were still really searching for what God wanted us to do. And God spoke really strongly to Gator one night in a service that he was to go to Mexico. We didn't know for sure exactly how that was going to all lay out, because there was an orphanage already being run by my parents, my dad and my mom, that had been founded years and years ago, and we felt that that's where God was calling us to be. So in 1989, we officially moved on to the first orphanage that we worked at it was my dad's, and we were there for about 4.5 years before we left a couple of years. Adopted our Mexican son, and then came back after a couple of years, and that's when we founded Big Heart.
I would think that we really didn't have any preparation besides Deanna going to 2 different Bible schools, and the time that I spent at Bible school as far as going on the mission field. The thing was, we just heard God's voice, and one thing I would like to say about myself is that when God speaks, we want to do what He says. There's a lot of times people hear things or think they hear things. I just believe I'm a person that when I believe it's God that I do it, and that's exactly what we did at that time. It wasn't that we were, I'm going to say, running away from something or looking for something more exciting or anything like that. It was that God called us to do it, and I'm going to tell you it was a very hard decision to a point, just leaving what we knew was normal, and it'll sound crazy to many of you, but my whole thing is that I knew that the place that we were going to go to, the orphanage that her parents had, was no electricity. And once again, I'm going to say it sounds crazy, but where do you keep things cold? I love ice. I can remember that from 32 years ago. I was wondering, where am I going to get ice to drink when I need to get something cold? And as funny as that sounds, those are things that enter your mind. And once again, I think one of the major things is, how's God going to provide for us? We've never stepped out on faith. We have never done anything like this. But because of the word that we got from God and the call on our lives, we just knew that we needed to do what He said, and He would take care of the rest. That's happened throughout the 32 years. It's still difficult at times. You still wonder, but God has always been faithful. Always been faithful. In Reynosa, like Deanna said, we worked for her dad for 4.5 years, which was a great place for us to learn things, learn culture, just learn how to live a different way, let's put it that way. And a lot of it is culture shock, not being able to communicate with your friends, not knowing the language. Even though Deanna graduated from language school, I went through the first semester twice because I'm a little bit slow. And still, when we left, when we started working in Mexico, we left the school, I could not speak Spanish. So those are just difficult times. After that, we left that orphanage, and we ended up starting a thing called Big Heart, which was another children's home, and that's where we were for 18.5 years. After that, we have started another place down here, not by choice. Once again, out of God's obedience for His call in our life, we came down to visit the place in the mountains, our big heart in the mountains, we would call it. And we were offered this place, and really, I'm going to say we rejected it 4 times. But when God told me that this is what we were supposed to do, I told the people, yes, we'll be coming, and not knowing what God had in store, but once again, He's been faithful to provide everything that we need, and for this place to start going forward in the direction that the Lord let us do, as He led us, let's put it that way. It was functioning before very well, but the people that gave it to us, this place here, were getting up in age, and it was time for them to retire and go back to the States. And they were gracious enough to let us have it and leave everything behind. Actually, they left everything behind here for us to go ahead and go forward with it. And that's one thing that the man that gave to us, Mr. Gaddy, he said, I feel kind of like I've done this just for this time. I've done as much as I can do, and now it's time for you to do what you need to do here. So that's why we're here also in the mountains at this time.
And as far as the kids that we've taken care of, I think our main goal was for them to know Christ and to know His love, because, excuse me, many have come from families that are very difficult and don't have much love of a mother or a father. Most of them are single parent families. But besides and foremost that is that they could learn how to be good citizens in their own country. Not feel like they needed to go across the border and think that the dream was across the border when they could be good citizens in their own country. So I would say for a goal more than anything, that they know Christ and take Christ to their family, and that they could be good citizens in their own country, in the country of Mexico.
The school that we founded in Reynosa we named it Regents. If you look it up, the region, what a region actually is someone that's in control until the king comes back, until the ruler comes back. And that's what we want to produce in Reynosa, is some children who grow up with good standards, good education, that they can be ready for when Christ comes back and do His work until that time comes. The reason for us to doing this school, I'm not an educator, and you probably can tell by the way I talk. I'm not an educated or educator, but we saw the need because of what was happening in the public schools where our children were coming out of. They would come home, as far as we were concerned, with horror stories of what was going on in the school. And it got to a point where we just said, we cannot, being Christians and being leaders of a bunch of children that God has lent us for a time, send them into that situation. And Deanne and I both agree that education is very important, and to have good leaders, they need a good foundation and a good education so they can go forward. And that's why we started Regents. We thought it was going to just be for our kids and maybe a few outsiders, outside kids, maybe like our pastor or some of the board of directors. But now it's up to about 500 kids, which is something we never expected. And we're just thankful that God has, over the years, sent different people to come along our side that are educators, and helped us with something we couldn't do ourselves. To tell anyone that I had anything to do with that school, I'd say that's not so. The only thing I did is through us and through the people that support us, we have built a place, and then God has sent the people, just like He always has, to help us do what we need to do. And I think Regents is a great testimony of what God can provide, what God can do, and the changes that can be in a person's life, not only knowing Christ, but also to have a good foundation, to know something for sure. To know something for sure. You know that 8 and 8 is 16. You know that for sure. Instead of guessing, or with your multiplication. We've gone over many times where these kids just don't have a basis of education. And I'm thankful for Regents and what it has done for our community in Reynosa. Hopefully, we are already Regents here in Ramos Arizpe in our new place. We already there. We're a satellite to it, but we're hoping for the day that one day we'll be able to build our own complex here and have regents here also. A complete school where all the kids that are living out in our neighborhood can have a place to be educated instead of having to be an hour away from their school, having to come on a bus, having to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning just to get in to go to school. And hopefully God can use us to change this community that we're touching every day, that we're being a part of every day, to be able to help their kids have a brighter future. Coming to the mountains was the farthest thing from my mind. It was ridiculous. There's no way. There's no reason. There was absolutely no reason for us to come to the mountains. What we had and God had provided in Reynosa was more than my family will ever be able to complete. There's just no way that we can do what God has called us to do in Reynosa. And then to think that Deanne and I are going to take off, both of us over 60 years old, and go start something more or less new, it's ridiculous. But God can do things and can use people and can use you in ways that if you'll let Him, you'll be like me. You'll be surprised. You'll be amazed. And it'll increase your faith to keep on doing more things for God. It's not time for us to retire. It's not time for us to say, okay, we've done what we need to do. And so, like I said, there is no way that what we're doing right now, 2 years ago, we would have even thought about. In fact, when I came here, I told the man, no, I'm not interested. This is nothing. I just came here because I had a day off. I was just curious. But 4 trips later, bringing other people that wanted to know where I went, what it was like, I met with them and told them that I believe God wants me to be here. And all I needed for Him to, in some way, show me how to make it work. Because what the money that we had coming in, the offerings that we had coming in, was doing fine in Reynosa. But to start a whole brand new thing again, something new completely, my mind couldn't figure it out. There's no way I could do it. And the Bible says a man doesn't build a house unless he's ready, unless he has it planned out. And in my mind, there was just no way that I could plan this out, that it could work. And God made a way. And He's still making a way today.
Here at the mountain, we're in the process of building a new kitchen, a new dining room, and dorms. Right now, what we have is houses where the kids, we have one house where the kids stay. And it functions, but it's not our desire that it stays that way. We prefer to have the kids in dormitories, where there's a girls' dormitory and a boys' dormitory, and people are helping us take care of them, and a kitchen dining room where everybody can get together and eat together. And our desire is, we have 8 children right now. Our capacity sounds little, but we're only going to like 20, just because of the fact that we don't just take care of children. We make sure that we supply every need that they have as best we can with God's help, such as medical. Sometimes they come and we have to do blood tests and find out that they have something wrong with them, that we have to go and get further testing and stuff. So, and then we take them to the dentist. We make sure that their teeth are okay, and we give them the education the best we know how, and we do rely on donations. But each individual child comes with their own complexities, we could say, and they each one need individual attention. And so for us, 20 children in one place is good for us to be able to have enough staff to be able to minister to each one of them individually, and which is the same in Big Heart. Big Heart, usually the capacity is 20 as well, just because we want to individually serve them the best we can with God's help. And as we said, focus on education and focus on them and their spiritual walk and becoming good citizens for their country. But for a vision more than that, I guess, Gator, you could say.
I think the vision we have is the same that anyone would have for their own children. We want these kids to go forward. We want them to be leaders. We want them, no matter what it is that they do, it doesn't matter if they pick up trash for a living, but to do it for the glory of God. The Bible says whatever we do, do it for the glory of God. And if we can instill that in these children, and we can be examples of that, whatever we do it the best we can. I think it'll improve the life of not only them, but also for the country. A long time ago, a man told me, he said, Gator, when you came to Reynosa, and you started cleaning up the place where you now are, which was Big Heart, you made a change in that street. And he said, the next time, he said, not only that, he says, when you did that, that also made a change in our neighborhood. He said, not only that, because you were there, it made a difference in my city. And I'm just going like, I can't even understand that something I'm doing so small is changing, but it is true. And God can use us more than we even can imagine how much He can use it. I just got a message from a kid that I took care of 32 years ago, and he's writing to me and says, do you remember who I am? And honestly, I don't remember who he is. But now he has a business. He's been in business now for 20 years. It's a family business. He's calling me. He's writing to me, communicating with me, saying, Gator, I want to help you because you helped me. That's all the way in Houston, Texas. From Reynosa to Houston, Texas. This guy's writing back to me, trying to locate me, and said, I want to thank you for letting God put you in my path so that now that I can help you anew. And so we're just thankful how God every day surprises us and brings people in our lives that help us along with what we're trying to do. That has been, I tell you, I think a lot of people, when they see what we do, they say, well, are these guys missionaries or are they taking care of our kids? And I tell you, I know personally that has become a question that has crossed my mind many a time. I'm wondering what we're really doing. Am I actually a missionary? By everyone else's definition, I am a missionary. But sometimes I just figure I'm dad. And my wife is mom. Just like you have your family, we are trying to be a family here. And we're trying to take care of these kids. Just like you would do anything you could for your kids, that's what we're doing here. Now, is that a missionary? You can make that decision. You can say whether or not we are. All we're trying to do is help out some kids so they can have a chance to know the Lord and to go forward and change their country and change their lives.
The hardest thing I would say for me would be the separation from family and friends. When we first moved here, it was kind of difficult because it was just Gator and I. I mean, we didn't really even have the helpers or another couple that's helping us now, so it was just us. And it was pretty lonely because you didn't really have anybody to communicate with except over the phone or on FaceTime or something of that nature. Through the years, I would say that's probably one of the hardest things is being disconnected from people and not really, which, you know, I'm sure every missionary can go through this that goes to a foreign country. They're separated from family, they're separated from home church, they're separated from people that they normally would have some type of a relationship with. And so it gets overridden, I guess you could say, because you get busy in life and you do what you do here at the orphanage, what we did at Big Heart, to where it doesn't come so, I'm just really, it's back there that, you know, you miss just sitting down with somebody and having a cup of coffee and talking about whatever, or you miss, you know, congregating together in a church and hearing a sermon in English. But nothing that, like I said, it's not something that overrides and makes you just really, really feel bad. It's just that something that's lacking. But through the years, you adjust kind of and realize, you know what, this is my family, this is my friends. When I have an opportunity to see somebody else and communicate with them, that's great. But this is life.
I think one thing too, along with what Deanne said, is you just appreciate your homeland so much. I remember going back and just going to a church service in America, to our home church where we came out of, and it was just like, this is so good, this is so normal. Instead of when you're trying to learn the language and you're new on the field, you're struggling for each word, you're trying to understand what they're saying, and it's almost like work to go to a church service. And I remember going to a baseball game and hearing the national anthem play, and oh my goodness, to hear the national anthem play when you haven't heard it in 3 or 4 years where everyone's singing it, and you're just so thankful for your country. And I think when you move away from the United States like we have and move to a foreign country, yes, you love the people there. Yes, you love the privilege to live in a different country because they don't have to give you the right to live there. And fortunately, we've done the right steps to become legally here. But you're so thankful for what your country stands for. We're thankful for the people that give to us from the United States. I must say we don't really get that much help from the Mexican people or the Mexican government. We're thankful for them because they give us the right to do this, but it just makes you appreciate your homeland so much. And we are sure thankful for America, for what it has stood for, and the blessing it has been for us over the years.
Well, like he said, hearing from Eric is this boy or man, I guess now, that lives in Houston, and finding out where kids are that have left. In some situations, we find out that hasn't turned out really well for them. But there's been lots of times that we find out that, yeah, I'm in church, I'm doing really well, I have a family, and they reconnect with us and let us know what's going on. Not everybody, but there's a surprise around the corner, and they say, I'm so-and-so, and I was at this orphanage, and they say thank you. Or if they have an opportunity, when we were at the Big Heart, they'd come by and say hello and say, I don't know if you remember me, but I was at the orphanage when I was this age. And I mean, some of you took care of when they were toddlers, and they come back and say thank you for what you do. I mean, to know that I would like to know that more of them are serving God. Some of them we really don't know for sure. But to know where they are and that they're doing good, that they made good decisions, that they have taken what has been taught them, and they've actually done something with their lives and not repeated the cycle that we're trying so hard to break, where this is a continual need for an orphanage because there's a continual need for children who don't have a dad. So you want to try to break that cycle the best you can, and God is the only way that can be broken. But I think that's one of the big things that gives us really encouragement is when we talk to the kids that we took care of when they were little and find out where they are, what they're doing, that they're doing good, and I mean that's just something that means a lot to me anyway.
Yeah, I think it's rewarding in that point. Where we do get to see them. I've actually been in places in Reynosa, in big stores, and somebody's come up to me and say, Papi Gator, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, no, I don't know who this is. And they said, you used to take care of me. And I just don't even remember them. But I mean, that just makes, it's just like this with Eric that she just got this telling about. It's just, I'm so excited just to get to, I'm going to say, re-know him again. He knows me very well. He knows everything. He remembers everything, and I don't. And so those are rewarding, but also the young people that have come, done mission work with us, the adults that have come, done mission work with, the friendship that we've had. And not only have they come, but a lot of them now are on our support team. They're helping us continue on with what we're doing. And that's always like I always say like a shot in the arm when the people that have come and been a part of us, whether it be for a week, or a weekend, or a month, that not only that they'll come alongside of us and say, we want to invest in what you're doing, and we thank God for that. That's a real encouragement too. And I remember thinking, what is the chance that one of the kids that we take care of would ever support us? Of course, I didn't know how long we were going to be here. I had no idea. But that has, not with just Eric, we'll see what happens with that. That's not what I'm talking about. But I had a little girl that came up to me, and I remember her well at the orphanage, and but I wasn't really close to her. I'm going to say it didn't seem that I was that close to her, but to her, I was very close to her. And I remember the first time she sent me an offering. 28 years later, after this thought, would there ever be anyone that we took care of come and support us? And every year, that young lady sends me, now she's a mama with 2 children and a husband, and now she's supporting me every year. And to see that happen, that's one of the rewarding things. And then we just recently, Deanne and I just recently received a message from a friend of ours that said that we had really helped him out. And folks, sometimes we don't know what we're doing. We don't know who we're touching. But if we're available, if we're doing what God wants us to do, He'll bring people into our lives. And we can be a blessing because we're obedient to God. When we're obedient to God, that's where the blessings come. I want to make it clear. Deanne and I are normal people. There's nothing special about us. But God can use people who will hear His voice and do the best they can.